Dr. Nerenberg's mind-body workout system.
Welcome, 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 my beautiful brothers and sisters, my beloved wife, Maheen. It's an honor to be here with you. It's a privilege to be able to share these thoughts and these ideas. For those of you in the room, those watching on DVD, those listening on CD, thank you very much for being here. The title of today's lecture is called How to Overcome Marital Conflict Over Who is Crazy and Who is Stupid. Now, some people say that if somebody says they've never had a fight in their marriage, that they're lying. But I don't know that that's true. I've known a couple that was married 50 years who never had an argument. Well, it turns out they were sharing the same hearing aid. What we're going to do is talk about how the arguments get going over who is crazy and who is stupid. We're going to also go into solutions of power thoughts. And I'm going to share with you the Nerenberg survey of the need to be right, NSNR. And we're going to have more participation of the audience when we get to that part of the lecture. So how does that happen? Because very often a person doesn't say you're crazy, you're stupid, although people do that too. How many times have people who are married or in a close relationship say, oh, you're crazy, it didn't happen, or you must be stupid. So that'll be said explicitly. But it also could be implied as well. Now, let me give an example. I say, well, I gave you the keys yesterday. I remember distinctly, we were sitting right there and I handed it to you. The person, no, you didn't give it to me. I remember if I didn't do it, I'm crazy then. So it's implied because I remember, sure as I'm looking at you and talking to you right now, I remember giving it to you. So it's really an argument over who's crazy. I'm not crazy. I haven't lost contact with reality. So nobody called anybody crazy, but the person's fighting for their sanity. If I didn't give you those keys, because I can see it right now, I know what you were wearing, where you were sitting. If I didn't give it to you, I'm losing my mind. I just don't know. I'm dreaming. I don't know the difference between a dream and external reality. Of course, when we're in the dream reality, we think we're in external reality. And so we don't even know the difference in the dream state. But I must know the difference in my waking state. Now, the other one, so that's over who's crazy. Now, the one who's stupid, well, you shouldn't have put the keys behind that door. You know how the kids get out. He says, what, am I stupid? I wouldn't put the keys over there. I know that. You don't have to tell me that. I'm not stupid. The person may say, I'm not stupid, or may just say, I wouldn't do something like that. I know better. But there again, it's an argument over being stupid or not. So that's why we're talking about how to overcome marital conflict over who is crazy and who is stupid. People become very vulnerable over this. As a matter of fact, all negativity stems from vulnerability. It could be vulnerability about how strong our contact is with reality. It could be vulnerability. We have hurt feelings, humiliated feelings, feelings of jealousy, insecurity, and so forth. All negativity stems from the vulnerability. We're going to go into, everybody knows the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the golden rule of thought, which is this: think about others as you would have them think about you. Think about others as you would have them think about you. So this is the golden rule of thought. If you're having a disagreement with a loved one, how would you want him or her to think about you? How would you not want that person to think of you? You wouldn't want him to think of you without love. Would you not want that person to have thoughts of respect even in the midst of a disagreement, or especially in the midst of a disagreement? So that's one of the parts that becomes threatening, is that people feel unloved when they're having these energies, this kind of disagreement. And again, we're focusing on who's crazy and who's stupid, but it could be any disagreement. Often it's a countenance, a tone of voice, a posture that makes the person feel unloved. And you would want that person to have thoughts of love during it. So one way of dealing with that is, look, I love you, but I think you're a little nuts. You know, you didn't give me those keys, or I think you're a little nuts. I did give you those keys. You're losing your mind a little bit, sweetheart. I love you, though. Don't get me wrong. I do love you. So that softens it, because there are those thoughts which manifest then in words. Love is not forgotten. That's really what's very threatening about these disagreements, is that people lose sight of the love for that moment. And love is the ultimate reality. That's what's real. These other things are just a temporary cloud passing over. But at that moment, those clouds can seem like the total reality. And at that moment, love seems like the illusion, and it's not. Love is the reality. And that's the dangerous thing about these marital conflicts. Sure, it's normal. People argue, disagree, and so forth. But it doesn't have to go where the thoughts of love and the expression of love is lost. It takes a strong commitment to the expression of remembering that. A very strong commitment. A good power thought is, even when I disagree with you, I love you. Even when we're arguing, I love you. So power thought is a thought you keep repeating to help keep negative thoughts from coming up, or the negative thoughts come up, a way to overpower them. This is one of the greatest power thoughts in any relationship. Even if we have a disagreement or an argument, I love you. Even if we have a disagreement or argument, I love you. Now, in Dr. Nerenberg's mind-body workout system, power thoughts are repeated every 5 minutes the first day, and then twice an hour thereafter. There's another variation, which is to do it with deep breathing twice an hour. We do it 3 times twice an hour, and I'm going to demonstrate that. The 23 factors in Dr. Nerenberg's mind-body workout system, which has been used by the United States Army to help prevent post-traumatic stress disorders and to enhance combat readiness. I'm going to show some of the system to you now. Even when we have disagreements, I love you. Even when we have disagreements, I love you. We can add an amplifier. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much. Very much is an amplifier. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much. You could also add a solidifier. Even when we have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm grateful. Basically, grateful that you remember your love. Even if you have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm grateful. So there you see the thought, you see a solidifier, you see an amplifier. These are some of the factors. And close your eyes, which I call a focuser, and you listen to your voice. You listen to yourself speaking the thought. Even if you have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm very grateful. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm extremely grateful. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm extremely grateful. So you have a focuser. Now you could add proprioceptive and muscular involvement. So for instance, right now I'm pressing my arms together. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm extremely grateful. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much, and I'm extremely grateful. Powerful. Tremendous power in that. Enormous. Now, also you could be using deep breathing, which is very good because most people do not get enough water. Most people are dehydrated and under-oxygenated. So now I'll do it this way. Now do this right along with me. Those of you in the room, those who are watching, okay, take a deep breath and repeat silently to yourself. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you very much and I'm extremely grateful. Deep breath. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you so much and I'm extremely grateful. There I use the variators that are very much, I use so much. It's called a variator. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you so much and I'm extremely grateful. Open your eyes. A variator is a way of saying the same thing, but using a variation of it. And I'm sure you feel the difference just that closing your eyes and 3 deep breaths. So this one, when you use the breathing approach with it, you do that twice an hour, every half hour. Twice an hour you're doing, so you're repeating it 3 times, so you're getting 6 times an hour. The breathing is very healthy for you. The thought's extremely healthy for you. Now people say, well, I just use it when I need it. Wrong. You have to always be in a state of readiness for this to happen. You never know when you're going to get in an argument. It comes out of left field often. So you have to be in a state of readiness for it. Otherwise, under the heat of the moment, you're going to just lash out and get into the thing. So you got to repeat it all day long. So like a soldier, you don't want him to just practice in battle. He's got to go to the field, be shooting and practicing, used to loading and cleaning his weapon, aiming, firing, how to squeeze the trigger, and so forth. So that's the key about power thoughts. It has to be done all day long because you're preparing for battle. Against whom? Yourself. Against your own ego, against your own weaknesses, against your own vulnerability and the cover-ups that are used, the negativity that's used. That's what we're in preparation for. Now, there's a variation of the golden rule of thought. I call it Mahin's golden rule of thought, which is think about others as you would have them think about your child. See, it's even more powerful. So you want to think about this other person the way you'd want that person to think about your child. You want them to have a good thought about your child. So you want to think about that person with love and respect, even during the midst of the disagreement. So this is the art and the science of dealing with the marital conflict and overcoming over the conflict of who's crazy and who's stupid. Very powerful one. Extremely powerful. And very often when we're disagreeing in this way, you can ask the question, are you serving the other's best interest to show him or her that he or she is wrong? Are you doing this in their interest? Or are you only protecting yourself, covering your vulnerability? If you're doing it, you have to show that person they're wrong because you're concerned about their health, about their well-being, about future catastrophes that could happen. If they don't know, well, then you're doing it for them. Then you can say, look, I don't want to disagree with you, but for your own sake, I got to tell you this. But often it's just to deal with our own vulnerabilities so we don't feel crazy, we don't feel stupid, or just lashing out because we're angry, we're covering up. For some, being right or wrong is not important, and they don't want to waste time arguing. These are rare. But when you meet people like that, you know they're like that. They're very easy to get along with. It's not important who's right or wrong. Now, this is one that I'm working with myself. It's a twist, because usually when you get in an argument, you want to prove you're right and the other's wrong. Now, for those of you, I put myself in this, who are brave, who are taking this really seriously, whenever possible, seek to prove the other is right and you are wrong. Actually, look for ways to prove the other person's right and you're wrong. Observe what happens over time. That's a total switch. An honest person who believes in the truth of what he or she is saying, that person will believe in that, but only a very secure person can handle your saying that he or she is wrong. Some people just can't handle hearing that they're wrong. You have to approach very gently. And particularly that has to be done if you're going to tell that person he or she is wrong. It has to be done with the utmost respect and the utmost love. And the only way you can do that is you have to have that power thought. Even if we disagree or even if I have to contradict you, I still love you very much and I'm grateful. Flowing on currents of wind, eagles glide with wings outspread as ocean tides below glide to and fro. And so does the soul seek the ease of peace to be released from quarrels of blame and who is right and who is wrong. So you can imagine a sunrise or a sunset, because all really want peace in their primary relationship. They want peace, they want unity, they want harmony, they want love, they want the good things. But nations say they want peace also. Look, they've been at war from the beginning of time. So there's other dynamics that are very powerful. And we need the inner technology of how to deal with our own thoughts. We have a tremendous technology of travel, outer space, going to Mars, going to the moon, putting a person on the moon, so forth. But what Dr. Nerenberg's mind-body workout system is the inner technology, of very good inner technology of how to deal with your own thoughts in terms of how to internalize that thought and how to amplify it. It's very powerful. Because that is, after all, the ultimate issue. How do you internalize a thought where it's a part of you? Always keep in mind, we are not responsible for the thoughts we have. We are responsible for the thoughts we choose to have. And we can choose to have constructive thought, just like the power thought we did before. Even if we have a disagreement, I love you so much, and I'm extremely grateful. That's a constructive thought. Generally, a person can handle 3 or 4 such constructive thoughts, or power thoughts, as I call them, at a time. At one time, I experimented with having 20. It was too much. So you can have 3 or 4 that are steady diet, and then you have some that maybe satellites that revolve around it. For instance, one that I use as a satellite that one time was one of my core thoughts is I joyfully take full responsibility for co-creating my problems and my joys. I joyfully take full responsibility for co-creating my joys and my problems. Because the natural tendency is just to blame, and I have that natural tendency myself. So I have that one that I'll pull in from time to time as a satellite thought that I use. So there's such a sweetness and calmness at sunrise and at sunset. It's a beautiful time. And that's what people really want with their loved ones. So we're going to talk about, right now, I think I'll go into more of a discussion mode and go over the Nerenberg survey of the need to be right, NSNR. And you can rate it, each one, go over each one at a time and get your honest reaction. How important is it for you to be right in a disagreement? 1's a little bit, 2 or 3, 4 is kind of medium, 5 is extreme. So you got to go a little bit medium or extremely important. How important is it for you to be right in a disagreement? Okay. I'm going to ask you that question. How important is it for you? Dr. Rainwater, how important is it for you?
If I'm thinking about partners, I'm thinking it's not really that important, because I can go on my day and I got to live with this person for a while, for the rest of her life. It doesn't matter. She'll learn by mistakes herself.
So it's not very important.
It's not very important, but it is very, very important that I am right to my child.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way.
You're very right with each other. That's always very important to be right there when you say something, to be right. Okay. Nancy, what about you? How important is it for you to be right in a disagreement in a marriage?
Well, for me, I was thinking it depends on the situation, but I would say between medium and low.
Medium and low. Okay, that makes it easier to get along with. That's good. Angela, what about yourself? How important is it for you?
Pretty important, because usually the conversations that I'm having, like with a partner, is where I am being vulnerable. So I want to be honest, and I'm pointing out like what the other person is being defensive about. So it's important to me to be right.
It's important to be right. Okay. I should point out that if you have 2 people in a relationship where it's very important to be right, they're more likely to be conflicted. If both have a low need to be right, they'll get along easier. Or if one of the 2 has a low need to be right, they'll get along better. I have a high need to be right, and that's why one of the reasons I'm giving these lectures is to help overcome it in myself. Definitely have an issue. Maheen, what about yourself?
Well, if in the conversation I am very sure that I am right, so I really want to make sure that, the other person, which is my husband especially, that understand that I am right. But if I'm not positive, so I don't take it to the max, to the extreme. So I would say number 3, medium.
Mm-hmm. How often are you positive you're right, will you say? He's my wife, so that's why I'm asking that question most of the time. So, okay. And I have a high need to be right also. So that's one of the reasons that I'm doing these lectures, I said. Of course, you could always say, well, I'm 50% sure of this. You can use percentages. Say, well, I'm pretty sure I'm 50%, or no, I'm 100% sure. I don't want to argue about it, so let's agree to disagree. You can always go, let's agree to disagree. That's a good way of going. Okay, Flo, what about yourself?
I used to be pretty high as far as I was concerned. I wanted to be right.
Mm-hmm.
But as I grow older, I think I've gone down quite a bit. It's not as important, let's put it that way.
Not as important.
Yeah. But it used to be pretty high.
Yeah, people need a way to, if they're sure they're right, they need some way to stop. We're going to get to more aspects like the last word and so forth. Okay, how uncomfortable do you feel about the prospect of being wrong in a disagreement? So for some people, it's not as important to be right, but it's really terrible to be wrong. So they might say, well, let's agree to disagree. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. These are some ways of trying to get out of it. But agree to disagree allows both to get out without having to be wrong. Because sometimes both people, it's really important not to be wrong. Because then you could have sanity or intelligence. I say, if I'm wrong, I'm an idiot. Or if I'm wrong, I'm crazy. Like, I know I gave you the key, so I'm wrong, I'm crazy. So there could be a lot at stake there. So that's the other side of this. Being wrong is often more disturbing than the need to be right. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, for me, being wrong, it is disturbing, but what it gets my partner, kind of like, stop it. It gets me into the point that I want to figure out why I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I get into the, I want to figure it out, and I want to talk about it, why I was wrong, why I thought I was right, but then,
are you really asking if you're wrong, or are you just really trying to still wheedle out of it?
No.
You're really trying to find out.
I want to find out why I was wrong to not do it again.
Well, that's a good thing to say then, because when you first say that, why am I wrong? That could sound argumentative, that in itself. But you say, I want to know why I was wrong so I don't do it again. Then there's a humility to that and less likely to cause an argument over it. I want to find out why I was wrong so I don't do it again. That's a good one. That's a good way to say that. Dr. Rainwater, what about yourself?
To be honest with you, it's depends a lot on my partner. My partner's probably got a lot of wisdom. Say if she was a secretary or she worked in a factory or whatever, she's probably got a lot of knowledge on that. So when it pertains to information that pertains to stuff that I think she knows, I'm hoping that she is 100% correctly, and I will be wrong. If that's what it needs to be, I would take her advice first. But in turn, when it comes to things that I think I know a lot more of, let's just say it was mechanics or whatever, fighting or whatever. So sometimes boys are fighters too. But anyway, I would think that I would have more knowledge and would expect her to understand where I'm coming from. But I have to say, so still 50-50, I guess, half and half, depending on her knowledge.
Well, a lot of times it's not over an expertise. I mean, there are fights that go over expertise. A lot of times it could be over memory. I gave you the keys. No, you didn't give me the keys. You said this to me. No, I didn't say that to you. A lot of it's really over memory things. A lot of it's over memory, in which case it's not an expertise. People like to think they know what they know. My memory is not failing me to that extent, or I'm not hallucinating. A lot of it's over that. You do get expertise arguments.
Especially is when it's repeat. Mm-hmm. Like, it happens a lot of time, the repeating things, like just like you said, the keys, but keys just that you're using it. But a lot of things, like any thing to do, and it repeatedly happens, that brings the problem.
Yeah, could be they keep having a disagreement over a particular thing that keeps happening. Where I say, no, that didn't happen. I say, yeah, it did happen. That's one that somebody could start feeling, well, that if it didn't happen, then I'm crazy because I'm obvious to me it happened. And I would know if I did, I didn't do it. So that's one over who's crazy there. That can be a tough one. Angela, what about yourself? In terms of how uncomfortable you feel about the prospect of being wrong in a disagreement.
I'm comfortable with being wrong.
You're comfortable being wrong?
I can talk about that.
Okay.
I want to know so I can grow from the situation.
Okay. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm comfortable also, especially that if I know that I don't have knowledge about it, I'm very comfortable, and I can be able to listen and, to.
So you can say, I'm wrong in this area. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, this has to do with I'm not about knowledge things, I'm about memory things.
Yeah, even
People can often gets okay. Flora, what about yourself?
Well, I think to me, it all depends on the subject. If I'm
It does depend on the subject.
familiar with the subject or whatever,
We're talking about.
you feel uncomfortable, but
I'm not really talking about knowledge base, because then there's a right or wrong answer. You can go look it up in encyclopedia or Google it up. Talking about
just
the memory, or was this an opinion? This is the best way to do it. No, that's the best way to do it. Things that you can't easily get an objective solution to it. Unless sometimes with memory, you can say, yeah, remember so-and-so was there. Let's ask him and you can settle it. But very often people don't rather argue how many teeth the horse has. You can open the mouth, count the teeth. You go an empirical approach. But often people don't have the energy or the motivation to do that. So the fight goes on.
Don't you bring the subjects to home life also? Like, let's just say I go in the grocery store. My partner might say, well, hey, it's cheaper at Ralph's. I was, no, it's cheaper at Stater Brothers.
Yeah,
And next thing you're fighting about, hey, what's cheaper?
that's right. That's
And-
right. Exactly.
Talking about the really typical things.
And that's
Something that
typical.
you
Daily,
forgot, something
daily
that you
typical
forgot.
things that happens between.
That's right.
But
That's
still will create
typical.
argument.
That's right. That's typical. And there is a solution. If you guys, most people won't do this, they can go to both stores. I mean, if there's that much at stake, and say, we're going to get to the bottom of this. So we can call both stores and find out. Usually people don't do that, but they will argue. And that's the stuff that we're talking about. The common everyday things like that. And there's millions of topics like that go on. And so it says, no, I went there, I shopped, I looked at that price, looked at the price over there. This is definitely cheaper. Well, no, it's not. Well, then I must be nuts because I just did it this morning. Well, it's not because I also did it. Well, so somebody's crazy or somebody's stupid. So that's ultimately what's an argument over. That's why how to overcome marital conflict over who's crazy or stupid. And that's what it comes down to.
rough word to use.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, people, and it's used a lot. People, I mean, the word,
I hate fighting over you.
well, even if they don't do it, it's still a fight over it. Even if you're not calling each other crazy, the person's fighting for their sanity. What do you mean? I just saw this morning. It's cheaper at this grocery store than not at that. Again, it's like if it's not true, then I'm losing contact with reality. So nobody's called me crazy, but I'm fighting for my sanity. Of course, a good way to talk about it is, gee, if it's wrong, I'm losing my mind, so I hope I'm right. That deals with the vulnerability. It's a good expression of vulnerability. Takes some of the fire out of the argument. Gee, I hope I'm right, otherwise I'm losing my mind because I saw it said 50 cents and it said 80 cents. It's not that way. I'm losing it.
Yeah, I noticed that people, when they use the word stupid, it's kind of strange. And they think a lot of people or persons, when you say the word stupid to them, it's like you're cussing on with the worst cuss word you could think of. And they're offended by the word stupid. Now,
It's true.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But for some people, saying stupid is not really.
For some people, it's not.
cause
That's right.
or-
Yeah, I'm not.
or
Yeah.
anything, huge. It's just that it's the matter of
How it's said is important.
how it
Yeah.
says, and it's a matter of
Well,
how you grow up in different cultures and whatever that stupid means.
But that's true. At the same time, some people can have a really hard time with it. I know a lady whose mother always told her she was stupid, and she was not stupid. And you know what happened? She started acting stupid. I said, and she never got over it. I mean, she was in her late 60s and would do stupid things, and she was not a stupid person, but she had internalized, always hearing from the mother, that she was
I
stupid.
don't think
It
it should be
depends.
used for kids at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more dangerous, yeah.
I disagree with you.
You're
Again,
kidding.
it depends how it says. Maybe her mother, when she said it to her,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
really meant it.
Right.
But yet we have an example, Einstein, that his mother always called him stupid. But look what happened to Einstein. So
Yeah. Well, it's possible to overcome it.
it depends how you say it.
He may have
how you-
overcome it.
How you mean it.
Well, as a matter of fact, a person can then spend their life just trying to prove to their parent they're not stupid. And it might drive them to accomplish great things. stupid, am I? All right. And the person studies harder and harder and harder and proves they're wrong. So it could lead to great things. I'm not saying that's what motivated Einstein, but it can have that effect as well.
Okay, what I am for teaching children to say the word stupid instead of F words.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
A words. And it's like,
Exactly.
to me, you want to tell this guy something, you want to really be honest, then, you use the word stupid.
Instead
Don't
of
cuss out.
Exactly.
Because no, the F word, because that's not your language. That's not your.
Well, and also there's a distinction. It's one thing to say that's a stupid thing you did. The action was stupid. Another thing to call somebody, well, you're just stupid.
Children don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not judged.
Yeah.
Judges of.
Remember the movie Forrest Gump? They would say, "What are you, stupid?" And he would say, "Well, stupid is as stupid does." And that would be his reaction. And that's how he dealt with people. Call him, "Are you stupid or something?" That was one of the refrains in the movie. Are you stupid or something? He was actually retarded in his case, but he would say, "Well, stupid is as stupid does," and that would end it right there because his mother taught him how to deal with that because he was going to be called that a lot in his life.
Right.
It's one thing to say it's a stupid action as opposed to calling out the person stupid. So go to the next one, number 3 on the Nerenberg survey, the need to be right. How important is it for you to win your arguments? And now we're talking about a contest, competition. You have people who really want to win. They're very competitive, and they'll fight to the death to not lose a contest. So now this is no longer about right or wrong. I'm going to win this contest. I've said this, this is an opinion I gave, and it's definitely right. And another person's arguing. And if one person's highly competitive, they'll just keep going and generally win these things. But if both are highly competitive, then it's more of a problem. And if neither one's highly competitive, they can get out of it pretty quickly. So how important is it for you to win your arguments?
Don't care.
You don't care if you win or not. So you're not that competitive.
You win. Oh, well. So.
Okay, well, that's a good attitude. Are you like that in sports or cards or other things? It's not a big deal for you.
It's not. I'll try to do whatever I can, but if I don't win, it's like I try at least.
You're all right. You tried your best. Okay, well, that's a healthy attitude.
For me, I think it depends on the circumstance. And if I am competitive, I'd like to know other resources, other ways way of their thinking. Because you tell me your alternative. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. So I have to say maybe 50-50. Because I'm willing to listen to the reason why they don't or why they think.
Well, you see, this is the proper use of dialogue. As rather who's right or who are wrong. Ideally, a disagreement should be an investigation of reality, an investigation and a search for truth, and unity is maintained. So they can disagree, but going back and forth, and as soon as I see you're right, I say, well, yeah, you're right on it. Let's just build on that.
I like the interpretation aspect of it. I like to hear the interpretation of why you think whatever. The shopping at Ralph's is a lot better than shopping at Vaughn's.
Yeah.
For the winning?
So you got a discount card or something. That would be, oh, yeah. Okay, you're right.
Okay, yeah, I'll say, you're right, and that's it.
Right.
I'm not going to continue fighting about it. I'm not going to say...
Stop as soon as you can.
If it's, like a competition. But if it's something different, like I said, I do feel bad for being wrong, but I try to figure out why I'm wrong so I can not do it again, or at least, know why, It's not something that I'm going to,
okay,
to
but what
be,
if it's like
to be right.
she said,
exactly.
What if you did it a million times?
That is, something. If you did it a million times, then, I'll try to figure out, try to stop it or figure out something.
What number? I forgot. 1 million?
1 million and one.
Yeah.
Well.
Or I wouldn't be with that person at all if it would be causing problems.
Based on that? Just for the market?
No, not for a market.
Well, a lot of it. But if it's a constant arguing, people, or if it's a constant fighting, constant fighting.
If it's too much fighting, then why it's, there's no love there.
Well,
in a way.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's why we have the power thought. Even if we disagree, I love you and I'm grateful. Now, also, it's good to model it for your child. So if you're wrong, you say, I was wrong. That way the child learns it's okay to be wrong. Now, for some people in growing up, to be wrong is catastrophic. The parent might really punish the heck out of the child any mistake, a little spill of milk, and they get really jump all over them, any little thing wrong. Then for that child, they grow up terrified to make a mistake. So they're still fighting to survive with their parent, even though they're 60 years old or 50 or 40. They're still fighting the issue with their mother or their father. They haven't realized, they've gone. They know it's no longer a matter. You're not going to get punished like that, but they still carry that.
In children, though, isn't the age a big factor also?
Well, yeah, there's a certain age, but also if they're right, then you have to give them the, oh, you were right, I'm sorry.
So you spill
you
the
have
milk
to.
or something. Yeah.
Well, for the spilling milk, it's not a big deal. You can just clean it up and let's try not to.
That's the best attitude about it. Is it was an accident? Don't worry about it.
And
Yeah.
you have to teach them to clean it up properly. Otherwise,
Exactly.
they're going to be.
Exactly. You have to, teach them to do it so they don't do it again.
Yeah.
So they're trying not to do it again.
Is that what you're saying?
But the good way. I mean, not the harsh.
Right. Exactly. But discipline, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Well, in my case, when it comes to competition, and I am very competitive, and but in a healthy way. If it's I'm not going to kill myself over it. If if I lose, and I'm okay with it to lose also, but I am very competitive and I like to win just any competition.
That's an honest assessment. Angie, what about yourself with winning? How important is it for you to win your arguments?
It's not that important.
Not that important.
Because I can admit I'm wrong. It's not that important.
Not
that I win
important
an
for you.
argument.
Yeah. Okay. Flo, what about yourself? How important is it for you to win your arguments?
I would pick my fights, I think.
You'd pick, some would be more important than others. You pick your grounds. Some are worth standing your ground, and a lot of them just give in on. Well, that's very wise. The flip side of this is how important is it for you to not lose in your disagreements? Now, I'm a little more competitive on that one. I mean, maybe I don't have to win, but I sure don't want to lose it. So I have to be careful with that dynamic. And say, well, okay, it's okay for me to lose this, no big deal. It's better to lose in an argument with a loved one and win at love. That's when I say win at love and lose in this disagreement. Yeah. So how important is it? This is a different dynamic. It's not winning, it's just not losing. Some people, to lose is disgraceful. If you don't win, well, you can live with that. But losing for some people is hard to take, especially if there are other people around and you're losing face with it. That magnifies it. Losing face, that'll magnify it. Okay, now this is one that'll go into people more willing to argue over something. And we'll just finish half of these and then come back to the other half afterwards. How much do you trust your memory to be accurate? Now, if you have two people who both feel their memory is impeccable, they're more likely to argue and say, well, I remember this way. No, I remember it that way. You're wrong. Well, I say, well, you could be right. My memory, maybe I don't remember it correctly. So then if one person has that about it, it's a little easier. But if you have two that are really have 100% trust in their memory, or a particular, somebody would say, oh, this I remember, this kind of thing I remember, this kind of event I don't remember. I don't remember this, that, and the other thing. But when it comes to this, I do remember. So it really has to, so a lot of times it's categorical. In these categories, my memory is real good. Other categories I don't care about, and I won't remember. Somebody doesn't really care about languages that much. You can tell them the vocabulary and they just forget about it. And they memorize for school, they can't remember it. But I've seen people like that who when it comes to baseball and runs batted in or baseball scores, they're walking encyclopedias. Their memory is perfect because they really care about baseball. I've seen it. Somebody else might look at it as trivia. But when it comes to that, nobody has a better memory. But everything else, they may not have it. So how much do you trust your memory to be accurate? Let's just start with you.
I would say 50-50.
50-50.
And if in case I still kind of blurry in some parts, I would ask instead of argue about it. I would say, oh, do you remember this? Did this happen, or did this happen, or how was it?
Yeah.
But with when I'm pretty sure how it happened, I kind of go into the arguing in a way if he's not acting up in the way that I am.
Right. Actually, what about yourself? How much do you trust your memory to be accurate?
It depends on the subject, but I have to honestly say that probably 60-40.
60-40, accurate. It's inaccurate.
Yeah, I would say that's the way I would read it.
You read it in terms of your overall accuracy. Angela, what about yourself? How much trust do you have in your memory to be accurate?
I trust my memory to be pretty accurate. I 95%,
Okay.
especially when it comes to events, like interpersonal interactions. However, I will say, I could be wrong, but this is definitely what I remember. But I will say I could be wrong.
So seeing the diversity of people's confidence and trust in their memory, what about you, Maheen?
I am very confident on my memory, so I would say same thing, 95. Yes, it's very, very confident about my memory. And but if I don't remember and I'm aware of it, then I back up.
Yeah. So what about yourself? How much do you trust your memory to be accurate?
Forget it. It's shot to
Oh,
hell.
somebody says it's this way. You say, well, you could be right. I'm not there. Yeah. All right. And you know that. That's a good thing to know. See, you have self-knowledge. You're humble about it. You're not pretending. That's excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, excellent that you know. Excellent that you know.
You know
Well,
what
I
I'm
know,
saying,
but I don't remember.
Yeah,
She got
Well,
to
you can
this
always be
point
wrong,
before
though.
she wasn't
Yeah.
like this.
The girl that's right here.
So
true,
it's just at this time
Certain
she's
point.
yeah.
Well, certain things you be sure. For example, now Flora handles bookkeeping. Has been our bookkeeper for a long time. I say, Flora, you probably forgot, but remember you agreed to take a reduction in salary by half. I'm sure you would see that you remember it didn't happen. Most of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, they were fine about that.
So, when we do these scores from 1 to 5, a total score of 40 or higher means it's extremely important for you to be right. This can mean you have strong tendencies to overpower people in arguments. We've only gone over half the test. A total score of 20 to 39 means you're moderately concerned about being right. You aspire to be right, but can deal with being wrong. A total score of 19 or below means it's not very important for you to be right. You are probably easy to get along with. I've met a few people like that. It just doesn't matter to them. And they're very easygoing. I don't know how they got like that. I mean, their parents were that way. I don't know. But I envy them a bit. Yeah, I have to tell you. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
Are these shy people?
No, it seems shy. It just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter.
They're just open-minded.
They don't
Really,
care.
really
They don't
open-minded.
care.
No,
They don't
but
care.
usually I think with those kind of people, I think with those kind of people, actually, if
No.
it becomes a big problem later on, and if they're gonna keep hiding, and then that's gonna, at some point, it's they're gonna cut the relationship. And the other person is not even going to know what happened. It's just because they all those time they just hit it. So,
Well, the person.
in a way, it fires back.
Well, here's something too, and that's a possible scenario. That's definitely a possible scenario. The other is a person. You have this other type of situation. A person knows they're right. You don't want to believe it. You don't know it. So, okay. Well, just don't argue about it. It's okay. You think what you have to think, and I hear you, and that's all they can do. So a person may just take them for knowing they're right, or knowing that God knows they're right, they know they're right about it, and just have to go on with it. This person, I'm thinking one in particular, I don't know if he had that. He just didn't care. That was amazing.
That's also, is like not to care. Who wants to be in a relationship with somebody that is not going to care?
Well, here's the thing about him. He may express his viewpoint. Doesn't mean he doesn't say what it is. He might express what he remembered. He may express what he felt. He may say what he knows to be true. And then if somebody doesn't agree, okay. And that's it. But it's not that he doesn't express himself, this particular person I'm thinking about. I was kind of amazed because I'm giving all my clients this test, and this one person. And he's just the nicest guy. Always has this glow in his eyes, always very sweet guy. And I presume he at least expresses what he has to say, and it doesn't go, just doesn't go. So it's not like he doesn't say what he thinks, but all right, and you just let it go. Then you have the other extreme where the person doesn't say what they're thinking, and then that's a different issue altogether. The person expresses himself, and then it's done. They say what they have to say, and all right, whatever you say. And they just move on that way. I don't want to fight about it. It's okay. So we're looking at this whole aspect of being right. And we have one lecture on how to overcome the need to always be right in marriage. We have the topic in another DVD, how to overcome one of the biggest problems in marriage. And this one is how to overcome marital conflict about who is crazy and who is stupid. So we're seeing a lot of dynamics over this one, and it's a niche. I've never really seen the topic addressed before, the need to be right. It's a very particular type of niche, a particular type of conflict. I mean, people can have a conflict over many things, but this one is a very unique, and couples often argue over these things. Who's right, who's wrong. It's not an uncommon issue, and that's why there's been this interest, and we've seen a lot of the energy that was during our discussion. Now we see everybody getting into it, really animated and talking about this, is because we have issues around it. We've seen it in our marriages, in our primary relationship. Now with a child, I remember with one of my children saying, "You're going to do what I said, not because I'm right, just because I'm your father. And usually I'm right, but once I'm wrong, there's not time to discuss every one of these things." So a parent could take a position of, not that I'm always right, but you're going to do it anyhow. And if I find I'm wrong, I'll let you know, whatever. Meantime, you just do, because you have to respect what I, as a parent, I'm saying to you. We're going to have a big argument. Otherwise, we're going to argue everything, and we're not going to do that. You're just going to do this. We only have a couple of minutes. Boom. This is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going. Not because I'm right. You might be right. I might be 100% wrong. That's not the issue. I'm making the call, and then you expect the child to go along with that call, and hopefully you'll be big enough later and say, "You know what? We did it. I was wrong. You were right, but you did the right thing on going along what I told you to do." Yeah, Dr. Rainwater.
No, I was just thinking about my daughter. That's kind of circumstance she used on me, situation. She told me that she was positively right. I said, "No, you're positively wrong." I think it was a TV program. It was on TV, and she outsmarted me. She came out there and she said, "Okay, Dad, if I'm wrong, then I'll clean my room for a week. Because if I'm not wrong, then you're gonna buy me this and whatever." I said, "Okay, that's fine. That's a good argument for you." Sure enough, she won. She just sort of things like, "Okay, I was wrong." Okay, and it was just all humorous, but it's still.
Well, see, the thing is, you as a parent were big enough to say, you were wrong, you went wrong, and you paid up.
And I was telling her, "No, it's this day, it's this time."
Yeah.
No, Dad, no. But she outsmarted me, I thought.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it should have been nothing. Just watch it all. You're right. It didn't make it the wrong time, or just turn it on.
And it's good for a parent to be able to say when they're wrong. I mean, that's healthy. Say, "I was wrong, made a mistake."
Apologize also.
And apologizing. "I'm sorry." And it was.
And pay it out.
That's how
for your wrongdoing.
That's how they learn it's okay. Exactly.
To be okay with the mistake and the apology also.
That's the important thing, is the role model. Just like you're saying, the role model is super important for the child. And I would say that probably a lot of children have never seen or heard a parent admit they're wrong or apologize. I think that's more the case than not. And a parent can be wrong and apologize and not have to lose authority.
Some children even haven't heard thank you.
No,
Yeah.
they don't even
You
know.
know,
how to
that's
think.
the problem
Gratitude.
that, I have seen.
And those
Some children, they
become-
grow up, never hear thank you from their parents, unfortunately.
Well, you have also families, just as a little bit of a side thought on this, where they grew up never hearing "I love you." They didn't see the parents saying "I love you." They never said to the child, but they might have felt loved. They might have felt that you did these things when love was shown, but they never heard it said. So they grew up not showing it. But they might do through action, do things, and that's certainly valid. But there's certainly nothing wrong with also hearing "I love you." These are some of the issues about parenting. Children should be learning, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to apologize. If you're wrong, you're not crazy. And we have a whole series of power thoughts to empower yourself in dealing with that, which if we don't get into today, we'll get into the next time. It's not being taught. So what I'm discussing with you now, I'm sure 99% of you have never heard it discussed before. Those of you in the room, those watching on DVD, those on CD, I know you haven't. And how wrong is that? Where some basic issue like that has not even been discussed. That you could be wrong and not stupid. You could be wrong and not crazy. You can make a mistake and learn from it. You can make a mistake and it can make you a much better person. I'm never going to make that mistake again. The person then really goes on to overcome it and make sure they don't make those kind of errors anymore. So, person, for instance, might, and you see it often, where the vulnerability generates tremendous accomplishment. People who have been impoverished and very poor, people who, for instance, went through the Depression years, many of them became rich. Well, not many, but some portion worked hard to make sure that their children have to go through it. So you can see where the vulnerability generates the opposite, become very rich. Or somebody who's concerned or has insecurity about how bright they're, whatever going on and really going far in the educational system and achieving great things, just offsetting that. Or somebody, and this is one you hear often, somebody who grew up, being very skinny and frail and picked on and bullied, becoming extremely powerful and strong, or a great fighter, a martial artist, boxer, so forth, out of the opposite. So making mistakes, being wrong, whatever vulnerability it is, can be enormous incentive and motivation, and it's probably generates some of the greatest contributions in the world. The lack of and the vulnerability in certain areas generating the opposite. So in a way, hardship makes us stronger in ways, and that's what I call the warrior's power thought. Hardship makes me stronger, and I'm grateful. Hardship makes me stronger, and I'm grateful. Now, there are other dynamics that go on with being wrong. I'm going to perhaps get into that another time. I'll give you a little clue about one of them. A person may not argue about it, but may, in their mind, have to keep having the last word and go on with invisible conversations, anybody going on with the thing for a while. And that, it's okay if it goes for a little while. If it goes too long, that can be draining. Well, I'm going to take this time. Our time together right now is coming to a conclusion. So I'm very grateful to be here with you, to share these ideas, to get your feedback. Very grateful. Grateful to those of you here in the room, those watching on DVD, and those listening on CD. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.